Hello, my friends. Hello, it's Matthew Street. Welcome to my channel. As always, I truly appreciate you being here, folks, and being part of my channel. And folks, ask and ye shall receive. One of my viewers, it might have been more than one of my viewers, I thought I read a couple of other comments from people that asked me if I'd be doing this, but I can remember a specific commenter, Kevin C. I don't want to give his last name unless he wants me to share it, but Kevin C., one of my loyal viewers and subscribers, asked me, and there might have been, like I said, one or two others, Matt, are you going to offer an opinion or your thoughts on the discovery of the brand new Beatles live concert from the UK recorded 60 years ago? What do you have to say about it? And I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about it, folks, but with my viewers asking me about it, I said, let me come up, give the information as I know about it, and talk about it a little bit. Now, folks, we're not exact to the day here, but just over 60 years ago, almost to the day, on March 22nd, 1963, this album was released, the first ever Beatles album. Here is a stereo copy. I have a mono copy behind me right over my shoulder here. But folks, what a groundbreaking album. The album that started it all. The album that came out just prior to the Beatles' world dominance. I mean, they weren't even totally famous in the UK all over yet when this album came out. It was right after this album came out, they started just shooting for the stars, riding up the charts. We know the history. They took over the UK, they took over Europe, they took over the US eventually and the rest of the world. But this is where it all started, folks. The Please Please Me album, March of '63. Now, almost 60 years to the day, because I'm a day or two late here by the time you see this, but on April 4th, 1963, the Beatles played a nearly 1 hour set at the Stowe Boarding School in the UK. It's probably the earliest known live recording of the Beatles in the UK. This school, the Stowe Boarding School, was an all-male school, but on the day of the show that the Beatles appeared there, with the boys being the student body, it was nearly all males in the audience. There might have been a few women or females, girls here and there, but it was nearly an all-male audience. So the Beatles were not drowned out by incessant screaming or jet plane-like sounding screaming. And they got up on stage and played a nearly, like I said, 1 hour set. They did songs from the Please Please Me album, the originals on here, the covers on here. They did songs like, from what the reports are saying, I Just Don't Understand, Taste of Honey, Shot of Rhythm and Blues, Memphis. Like I said, many from the Please Please Me album. They did 22 total songs at this concert. And the word is that it's all been captured on audio tape, quarter-inch tape, by a young man at the time who was only 15 and is now 75 years old. His name is John Bloomfield, and he recorded the Beatles at this Stowe Boarding School concert, right when they're at the edge of their world fame. Now, only a few people have heard this tape, and one of them was Mark Lewison, the world-known Mark Lewison, authoritarian on the Beatles. And supposedly when Mark heard this tape, the report was he was floored by it. He was absolutely blown away by hearing this live recording of the Beatles at the Stowe Boarding School. And I just want to say and give my personal opinion that I am flabbergasted that after 60 years we can still get, or we're still discovering, or it's still being unearthed. The ancient musical geologists are still pulling out live footage and live tapes of the Beatles after all these years. You would think every picture, every piece of audio, every piece of video or film would have been discovered or reported on by now. And yet here we are in 2023, 60 years later, we're getting a report that live music from the Beatles, never heard before, has been unearthed, and it sounds fabulous. And I'm like just beside myself with excitement, because if you remember, like last year, I reported that in my heart and soul, I felt that Rubber Soul was going to be the next Beatles Deluxe Archive set, redone by Giles Martin and the team. I said Rubber Soul is coming, and that may still be true. Rubber Soul may be the next big Beatles recording that comes down the pike, folks. But now that we're hearing about this brand new unearthed live recording of the Beatles, one of their earliest performances right around the time of the release of the Please Please Me album, nearly an hour long, 22 songs, without the screaming, incessant screaming of the audience. Yeah, they say in this tape there's loud cheering, there's a little screaming here and there, but it's not like what we normally would get in one of the later Beatle concerts. So can you imagine this recording cleaned up, sounding fabulous? Maybe, Peter Jackson, anybody can help with the, maybe Giles can do some of the mixing with Peter and we can make this thing sound pristine. Can you imagine a Please Please Me deluxe archive set with the extras and the extra studio recordings and some BBC recordings? And then the cherry on top of the cake is a CD of this Stowe Boarding School recording from April 4th, 1963. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I mean, we thought, and it was huge when we got the Get Back material and the brand new Let It Be archive set and, 6 hours plus, whatever it was, of Get Back footage from the brand new Peter Jackson film. I mean, that put us all in seventh Beatle heaven, right? I mean, it was just phenomenal. And we thought, where can we go from here? What more can they do to knock our socks off? There's nothing more they can do. Well, folks, they could go a long way if they get a hold of this Stowe Boarding School tape from 63, early 63, clean it up and put it on an archive set like this. The sales for this will go through the roof. It'll be phenomenal. It would just be unprecedented to have early archive Beatles live material like that. Unbelievable. And I, for one, am all for it. So excited and happy that this tape has been discovered. I hope something positive is done with it. And I thank my viewer, Kevin C., for prodding me into doing a video about it because, yeah, folks, I'm excited. And I'm sure all of you are. Yes, thank you for the Get Back footage. Thank you for that beautiful film, that 6-hour plus 3-part series we received. But here we are again in 2023 getting news that we could be getting some more great new live Beatles material. Can you imagine? 22 tracks, not your standard 11 or so tracks, half-hour Beatles show that we got on the tours later on. They played for nearly an hour at this school. 22 tracks. Holy cow. Can you imagine? And just turning that up, turning it up to 11, and just sitting back and going, whoo-hoo, and being bashed and hit with all the glory of an early Beatles concert like that, without the crazy screaming, just getting the basic fundamentals, the audio, the instruments, the vocals, just right there in your face. Oh my goodness, folks. And that was a period for the Beatles when they were on fire. I say 1963, the Beatles live, they were at their tightest, their best. All you have to do is listen to the Swedish tapes a few months later when they were playing live in Sweden. And wow, were they tight. They were rocking and they were tight as a band. And, they never were again playing live again in that tight of a manner again. So 63 is the period when you want to hear the Beatles live because they were at their best. And if we get this Stowe Boarding School tape cleaned up in some form or fashion, I cannot wait, folks. I'm sorry, I'm droning on here. I'm going on and on. We're at the 60th anniversary of this album, the 60th anniversary of the Stowe Boarding School concert, April 4th. Whew, what more can you ask for, folks? We may be getting something special in the coming months or a year or so. Who knows? Thanks again to my viewer, Kevin, and thanks to all of you. Bye-bye.